Ach, toeles tzedaka gedol meod. Now, the greatness of tzedaka, the benefits of tzedaka are very great. Ki tzedaka molei tamid, because tzedaka helps constantly. Ki tzorchei haguf hem rabim meod, because the necessities of the body are tremendous. There are a lot of things that people need. Afilu achreichius hem rabim gedolim, and even the basic things that we need are tremendous. There are a lot of these things. Like food and drink and clothing and apartments. These things could take up a lot of a person's time trying to make money for these things. And they could take up a person's days and a person's years just trying to make money to buy an apartment or to continue supporting his family and to have basic food on the table and to have basic things that he needs. And they take a person away very much from serving Hashem. Actually, the problem of money, or the inyan of money, is something that takes a person away from Hashem more than anything else. Once I heard that there's, in many aspects, you could say that it's even worse than Pagama Bris, when a person does an Aveira of other types of Aveiras. So most other Aveiras, you can go back to serving Hashem. You could do tshuva, you realize what you did is wrong, you did a clear Aveira, and you're going to do tshuva. A person went to McDonald's and ate a hamburger, a cheeseburger, so he knows that what he did was wrong, and he could do tshuva. It's easy, and he can go back. And it could be he learned a lot of Torah yesterday, and it could be he's going to learn a lot of Torah tomorrow, and he's going to steig, and he's going to grow up and develop himself in serving Hashem. But when a person falls into the taiva, the desire for money, so he could, even not the desire, even the basic needs, and he runs after his basic needs, so he could end up completely enveloped in running after physicality and running after basic things that he needs for his livelihood. And that will take his mind away from serving Hashem completely, and it could be that a person running after his own basic needs will end up feeling like he has no time to serve Hashem, will be completely distracted from serving Hashem. And that's very dangerous, that's very bad. Now, even though serving Hashem in such a fashion, by running after or trying to fulfill a person's physical needs, like buying food is for sure a mitzvah if you don't have any food, and having a house for your family is for sure a mitzvah, and raising children to go to Talmud Torah and to study Torah is for sure a mitzvah, and by supporting such a thing, by supporting your own family, it's for sure a mitzvah. As the Gemara says, the Gemara Ksuba says, who is a person who does tzedaka constantly, at all times? He's a person who feeds his children, because he's doing tzedaka after the age of like 6 or so. You don't technically have to support your children. So if you're supporting your children after 6, it's technically tzedaka. So again, I'm not saying for the halachas of Meiser, but I'm saying at least for the mitzvah, it for sure is a mitzvah. You're not doing nothing. But when it comes to serving Hashem completely, it's not necessarily the complete service of Hashem that Hashem wants from a person. We're going to see later on how this fits in with getting shefa a different way, and more through spiritual, efforts, and as opposed to just working very hard and working a lot, which is what we have to be very careful of, especially in our generation. The 8-hour, 9-hour, 10, 11, 12-hour work days, just seems to totally occupy people's lives completely, and it ruins them, and then they end up without a family, and they end up even losing out this mitzvah of supporting your family. If you're supporting your family in a way that you don't have a family, and your children go off the derech, and you're never at home, always traveling or whatever, and especially nowadays when most of what we're looking after is not really complete necessity. Most of what people are running after is not necessarily this mitzvah that he's talking about, basic food, drink, and apartments, and roof over your head to live. But people run after swimming pools and all sorts of other very exciting toys and other types of shtusim, silly physical pleasures that are very fleeting and very momentary. And they leave serving Hashem for that, and they work very hard for that. So that's not necessarily even the madrega, even the level that the Rebbe here is speaking about. The Rebbe here is speaking about people that are doing mitzvahs in their work, and by them working completely, putting their head and and most of their body into their work, they are doing mitzvah. So even for those people, it's still, a person could spend his whole time, and still it's considered for those people who really are serving Hashem and just doing what they need to do. And I knew a family in America who I understood they had a lot of kids, and the husband had to go to work and the wife had to go to work. This isn't an uncommon thing, and they were both making something close to minimum wage, and they both needed to work pretty much a whole day in order to they lived in a very basic apartment, and just to bring food on the table. And it's something that's very difficult. So even that's what we're talking about here. People work very hard, or it takes away from the service of Hashem. And now their service, their mitzvahs that they're doing and running after money, trying to provide for their families, is an awakening from below, because there's a principle that from service down below and from actions that we do down below, it arouses things up above. So this is the basic principle for Ishtadlus. The basic idea why we actually go out to work in order to make money is that through doing physical actions here down in this world, we arouse an upper light, that through those upper lights are the source of all plenty and all goodness in this world, and those upper lights develop and come down to this world in a way that comes and develops into money, and that money comes back into the person's hand. So it's not that a person that we believe that by working you are making money. It's not true. By working you're arousing upper lights, upper mechanism, upper kedusha, and that upper kedusha, it comes back down to a person in hopefully money of kedusha, holy money that comes back to a person. Ki now the Rebbe is explaining exactly in more detail how this works. Through the through the work and the dealings that a person deals with here in this world, that exact type of work, or exact type of malacha, type of work, is aroused in the Maisa Bereshis. When Hashem created the world, we're going to see him saying, Hashem created the world with all of the malachas, the 39 malachas, so to speak, and Hashem rested on Shabbos. So again, we understand that Hashem used these 39 malachas, these 39 actions of work, which we know as in Shabbos to be building and destroying and cooking and moving from one domain to another, and all the different sewing and all the different things that are necessary to in general they're divided into a few categories. One is baking of bread, and the other one is Pas. One is writing a Sefer Torah, I think, where it includes capturing an animal and shechting the animal and taking the skin. And the next one, I think it's building a building and maybe sewing clothes. I'm not exactly sure if the last two are, but I know that the Sefer Torah, they're divided into a few categories. That it's called Siddur de Pas, which includes all of the baking, making bread and even grinding the wheat and reaping the wheat, and then the malachas that it takes to make a Sefer Torah, and a number of other malachas that we have. Those are the 39 malachas that Hashem kiviyachal, in a very spiritual way, obviously, used in building and creating the world. So on Shabbos he rested, and that's why we rest from those 39 malachas, because those are the fundamental principles of every malacha that we do in this world can be broken down spiritually into one of those 39 malachas. So when we do a malacha, we do work, even if it's not actual necessarily a 39 malacha, it could be you're talking, it could be you're doing something else. So that work, it relates to one of the 39 malachas, and it actually arouses one of these 39 malachas. Now the 39 malachas aren't bad. We see that Hashem created the world with them. So even though on Shabbos it's asur, it's forbidden for us to do these 39 malachas, during the week, it's okay for us. And when we do it, what do? We're actually arousing the fundamental root that the world was created with. The world was created using being built from these 39 malachos. And a person by doing one of these works, let's say a person's a builder, and a person is building, and that's one of the 39 malachos in a very simple sense. He's giving chiyus, he's giving energy, to that form, and to that specific malacha, meaning he's giving power to the aspect of building, which the 39 malachos in Maaseh Bereshis, in the creation of the world, that the world was created with one of these ingredients, 39 aspects and powers or ingredients that Hashem created the world with during the creation of the world, during the 6 days of creation, and a person's giving power to the building aspect of it when a person's building. This is a very simplistic explanation. Shalamala. Shumachuvan keneged oso esek v'malacha shadam osa lamata bolam haza. Now that building that Hashem used, so to speak, in creating the world, is the building that a person is arousing when he himself is also building for parnasa. So we have a direct connection. It's an amazing thing how deep our connection goes up to the upper oros, up to the lights that Hashem created the world with, the fundamental building blocks that Hashem created the world with. We're actually connected to when we go out to work. Because through the dealings and through the things that we do, we make a mishkan. Now he's going to explain how this, he's going to explain more in detail. Now, through our actions become a mishkan, become a sanctuary. And again, this obviously should be with the proper kavanah. A person should do his malacha with the kavanah of giving tzedaka, either also to his children, also to the 10% meiser, or the chomesh that he gives, or whatever tzedaka that a person gives. If he gives more, or he should have intention that what he's doing is a complete mitzvah and he's serving Hashem. Or if he's doing something like kiruv, he should be thinking about something like that also. But certainly the main kavanah, the Rebbe says in other place that when thinking about parnasa, when your kavanah, when you're doing parnasa, should be that you should have tzedaka, you should have money to give to tzedaka. Now, through your mitzvahs, you're making a mishkan, you're making a sanctuary. And what are you making when you're building? You're making a sanctuary for the light of building itself to rest. Let's say one person's a writer. So the world was created with 39 ingredients, as we said before. One of those ingredients is writing. It's one of the 39 malachos, that's Asar and Shabbos. When a person is writing during the week, and he's a writer, he's writing for even a newspaper, even just stories or something that happened. It wasn't. It's not something not nevera, as Hashem, and it's not a mitzvah. So his writing becomes a sanctuary for the ingredient of writing that the world was created with. So it actually becomes a sanctuary for tremendous high oros, high lights. Now he's going to explain. Ki kol malacha kalulim b'lamates malachos. As we said, all of the malachos, all of the work that we do in this world, is included in the 39 malachos that Hashem created the world with, and 39 malachos that are Asar and Shabbos. Shem avos malachos, which are the fathers of malachos, the principal malachos that we have on Shabbos. Avos miklal dika toldos, and now they're called avos, they're called principal malachos, 39 principles, because they have toldos also. They have a secondary or developed or lesser category, smaller category of malachos. Told us. Now he's explaining what happens when a person is a counselor. How does that come into one of the 39 malachos? So he's explaining, you're right, you're not going to find a counseling as the 39 malachos, but you will find it as a tolda. Now again, you won't find it as a tolda in halacha. If you open up the Shulchan Aruch, counseling won't be a tolda in halacha. But since it is a malacha that we have nowadays, that a person could do it is a job that a person has, it seems the simple understanding that the Rebbe is trying to say here is that everything that we do in this world, that we do for business, that we do for money, could be considered, it is really connected to one of the 39 malachas, if not directly to the 39 major ones. It's a derivative. It comes from a derivative, and it has a root in the 39 malachas. So the examples of Tolda in Hilchos Shabbos, can't think of an example right now. Tolda. Yeah, a lot of times we have a good example of Tolda of Malacha of Shabbos. Could be here we go. It could be they have like sewing. Let's say sewing is 2 stitches. That's also the Av Malacha is stitching 2 stitches. But a Tolda could be something like a very strong zipper that isn't made to be opened and closed, or hooks that attach, that attach 2 things together very strongly. They have these now, a new thing, instead of stitches for the hand, if a person scratches his skin, they have these butterfly band-aids. Now that could be, gluing 2 things together, could be a Tolda, I'm pretty sure it is a Tolda of the Av Malacha of Topher. So Topher means literally 2 stitches. And the only way you're going to be usher, it's going to be usher for you to do attaching 2 pieces together, 2 things together on Shabbos, is going to be if you were to do 2 stitches. So that's only if you had the Av Malacha and you don't have any Toldos. But since we have Toldos, it develops the concept of the Malacha. The concept here is attaching 2 things together, and it says not just through 2 stitches is it usher, but it's also usher if you're going to attach it even with glue. So glue would become a Tolda, a development of the principal Malacha of stitching 2 stitches together. So everything in the end comes to a Tolda of, even something that's not an actual Malacha would be categorized as a Tolda of an Av Malacha, and will be connected to one of these fathers, one of these principal Malachas that we have on Shabbos. They're all included in the Lamites 39 Malachos. Shem Avos Vasham Tovos. Lamites Malachos and Kneged Malachas Mishkan. And the 39 Malachos are parallel, relate to the Malachos that we also did to build the base of the Mishkan. And that's where we learned the Lamites Malachos. We learn it out of the Mishkan. We don't look Kabbalistically to see what Malachos Hashem did in creating the world, and decide from there that what the 39 Malachos are. But the 39 Malachos were learned in the Torah, they're learned out of the Mishkan. That all the Malachos that we had to do in the Mishkan, like building the Mishkan itself, like attaching pieces of metal together and pieces of wood, there's machlokas whether it was korbanos or the fire they needed. They passed things from one domain to the next. They did avara. They did all sorts of all the 39 malachos within creating the Beis Hamikdash, within creating the Mishkan. And the Mishkan again is a sanctuary for the resting place of Hashem's kedusha. The rabbis clearly said this in the Gemara that the 39 malachos are parallel to what? Parallel connected Meleches HaMishkan, the creating of the Mishkan. Now you could add, now he says here, he brings a Zohar, what I was about to say, that Tzirur de Mashkana Ketzirur Duvda de Bereshis. Now the spiritual form of the Mishkan is equal to the spiritual form of Maisa Bereshis, of the creation of the world. Now what is this coming to tell us? It's coming to tell us, very simply, that the world is created as a sanctuary for Hashem. This is a very simple principle that we see from here, that the world is a sanctuary for Hashem. It is a Mishkan for Hashem. And just like Hashem made the Mishkan, which is, we made the Mishkan in this world, which is the physical place that Hashem rests His Kedusha in this world. His holiness is found in the Mishkan, now in the Beis Hamikdash, which is a permanent Mishkan. Mishkan, again, the word of the Mishkan means to rest. Mishkan. Or Lishkan means to rest. Mishkan means resting, like a resting place. So this world is Hashem's palace, so to speak. This should be Hashem's palace. Unfortunately, because we don't accept his rule, there is no real king without a kingdom, and therefore Hashem is not. We haven't properly crowned Hashem as king over this physical world. But that's what this world is. This world is supposed to be a complete mishkan for Hashem. So we see this through the connection of the 39 malachos, that we created the mishkan, we built the mishkan using these 39 constructive acts, and Hashem also created this world using these 39 constructive acts. So now we're going to attach this back into how we do parnasa, how we make parnasa, and when we make parnasa, when we act towards having a parnasa, we actually build up in Shemaim, we draw down ours from Shemaim. V'adam osa malacha. Now a person, when he does malacha, when he does work, simple work, tzirudu gufa ketzirud mashkana. A person is also like a mishkan. So when a person does work, nimtza sha'idesha adam osa malacha v'asakav. When a person himself does work, then he is like aideza nasa bechinas mishkan. He's creating, or he becomes a bechina of a mishkan. He's building himself up, so to speak, and he's becoming a bechina of a mishkan. Now this is when he does it properly, the way he's supposed to. When he does his work properly, he gives light to that power of Maisa Bereshis, that one of the 39 malachos. And it sustains the world, because the world is continually sustained by these malachos, these oros. Now this is still, it turns out that this is also serving Hashem. So we are serving Hashem by creating, we're giving ha'ara, koach and ha'ara l'maisa bereshis. We're giving power to the original creation that Hashem created in the world. Hashem created the world, and we're continuing to sustain it by doing our malachos. This is in a very high spiritual sense. I don't know how we can bring it down to a more low understanding of this, but I think it's meant to be understood in a much higher, in a very high level, that when a person does malacha, he's actually sustaining the spiritual aspect of the sustenance of the world. It does not mean that he's sustaining the physical aspect of the world. That's not what you're doing. When you're doing malacha, you're going back to the lamed tes malacha. So Maisa Bereshis, at least this is how it works with a Jew, and he's sustaining the root of the world. The root of the world, which is rooted in the 39 malachos. That Hashem created the world in 39 malachos, and He apparently continues to create it with 39 malachos, and it needs ha'ara. It gets koach and ha'ara of Maisa Bereshis, the action, the original action of creation, the 6 days of the week. And by us going out and doing parnasa, any type of parnasa, anything that we do, of any sort, whether we succeed in making money or don't succeed in making money, we are actually supporting the world. We're supporting the world by giving light, energy, to the Maisa Bereshis, to the creation of the world itself. And this is how we sustain. This is how we are doing mitzvahs, according to what the Rebbe is saying here. This is how we do mitzvahs when working. Also, again, to add to what we said before, that he says here, Afal pishigam hem ba'atzmam. Also, you could say that there is other mitzvahs, simpler mitzvahs like tzedaka, that a person is doing for his family and for other people when he's working. But the Rebbe seems to be focusing here mostly on the fact that he's sustaining the whole world when he works, which is even bigger aspect to say that I'm sustaining the whole world than I'm just giving a couple $100 to tzedaka every month. And that's. We'll stop at that for now.